What's up, everyone? John Rettinger from Techno Buffalo here with a full review for you of the first dual-core LTE device on the market. This is the Droid Bionic for Verizon Wireless. We first saw this guy debuted at CES in early 2011. Finally have its release. I've had it in my hot little data-loving hands for the better part of 3.5 weeks, so I spent a lot of time with it. Let's go ahead, dig in, and see if it's been worth the wait. Alright, so before I jump into all kinds of other goodness about the phone, let's talk about call quality. If it's not going to make good phone calls for you, there's not much of a point behind having this. As with most Verizon devices I've tested, call quality was outstanding. This handled the LTE to 3G transition better than any of the other 4G LTE devices I've tested, including the Charge and the Thunderbolt. So no problems at all when it comes to voice quality. Motorola has really done a nice job with this phone. In my 20-call test, I had 0 drop calls, including areas where I generally get drop calls for Verizon Wireless. I was able to maintain a pretty strong 4G signal of about 2 bars most places that I went, and I did travel out of the 4G area to see how it worked. I used this phone as my daily driver for 3 odd weeks. And it really worked well, and I was very happy with the phone's performance. So no worries there. Speakerphone is pretty average. It's loud enough. If you rely on speakerphone in your car, though, you're definitely going to want to invest in a Bluetooth headset or Bluetooth speaker. All right, so enough of that. Let's go ahead and start with the hardware, because there's a lot of stuff to talk about the hardware packed into this guy. So let's go ahead and get started with the design, and then we'll run through all the specs. It's got sort of that familiar shape we've been seeing with a lot of Motorola's phones. The Droid X and the Droid X2. Sort of this teardrop, fat in the top, skinny down below, or reversed type setup. So on the thickest point, it's 13.3 millimeters. On the thinnest, it's 11.3 millimeters. The screen itself is very similar to the screen that we saw on the Droid X2, QHD, 4.3 inches. That's going to give you a resolution of 540 by 960, and of course that's always measured diagonal. Capacitive touchscreen, all the stuff you would expect. 4G LTE speeds, a little bit over a gig of RAM actually. On the back, we've got, living on the hump, we have an 8 megapixel camera with LED flash that can shoot 1080p video. We'll talk about the video quality in just a moment as well. It's got a VGA front-facing camera and that dual-core processor, the Texas Instruments built one, with 1 gigahertz on each core. Interestingly, Motorola went away from the Tegra 2 that used in previous dual-core devices for the Texas Instruments processor in this one. All right, so let's go ahead and see what else we're going to have around the phone. On the left-hand side, it's where your charging port's going to live. HDMI out. I'm not going to go over that. It's HDMI out. It's a mini HDMI. On the top of the device, on the left-hand side is where your power and lock button is going to be. I prefer it on the right, but that's just a taste thing. 3.5 millimeter jack on the right. Volume rocker up and down, very well pronounced, easy to use. Speaker on the top. You've got some indicators here as well for proximity sensors. There's the VGA camera on the front. And the back is sort of dubbed in the soft touch finish. It's got a pretty good feel in the hand, actually. Underneath this cover is a monumentally giant 1700 milliamp hour battery. That's a 10% increase over the Charge and a 15% increase over the Thunderbolt. One of my big knocks on LTE phones and battery life has been atrocious. I'm very heavy on my phones when it comes to email. I've got 2 accounts that's searching for messages almost all the time, even when I have push services on here. Maybe about 2 hours of phone calls, some YouTube viewing on here, and a lot of web browsing. And I was able to get through a full day of battery life. Just barely, but I was able to get through a full day. So chances are, if you're less of a power user than me, you're not going to have any trouble getting through a full day with the Droid Bionic. So hats off to Motorola for that one. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about performance. That was really the big thing that I wanted to know about this phone, is how is this sucker going to perform? Well, my quadrant score was 2,140, and that's with the stock ROM here. So that was a pretty decent performance overall, I think. Certainly, if you decide you want to get in there and tinker, you could probably eke out some better scores, but 2140 was very, very nice. And certainly Quadrant's not the only benchmarking test you can do, but it's constant in all my Android tests. I always use Quadrant, so you can check out other scores there as well. This phone is blazing fast, just very, very, very quick. I'm not connected to any sort of Wi-Fi here, but it's quick from app loads, it's quick for web browsing, it's quick for everything. Pinch to zoom, no lag at all. Even when I'm viewing sites that have flash on, I don't notice any sort of slowdown. This thing is extremely capable and really able to bring in just some tremendous speeds and performance. Even with applications open, it's got plenty of RAM. You can use 16 gigs of built-in storage, expandable with micro SD. About half of that's going to be available for your applications. The other half is, system stuff that gets taken up. You can see how quick a simple page load was here. Just very, very, very fast. Let's go ahead and check out some of the applications and see how the speed is on here. Again, even with a lot of apps open, I really had no issue at all opening things. Opened some stuff I've never opened before. How about NFL Mobile, something that wasn't running in the background? Launched pretty quick. We'll agree, and now we are into NFL Mobile. I not once had to manage my memory usage on this phone at all, and that was during 3 weeks of testing. I didn't have to close any applications. This thing just worked smoothly. It was nice to not have to worry about that for a change. So if you forget to close applications, oftentimes some of the bugs that happen with Android phones in general are due to quitting applications. So things that you might be using by third parties that close applications, sometimes they close things that are important to the phone. That can cause glitches, which are really no fault of the operating system or the hardware. They're actually user-based. So no need to worry about that here at all. Go ahead and run back and show you some more speeds here. So talking about some download speeds, I'll go ahead and show you what my speedtest.net speeds were, if I can find it here. Very fast. Go ahead and show you my results. I was pulling down about, you can see here the 2 most recent ones, 4.2 down and 5.57 up was the most recent test. Generally, my speeds were about 3 down and about 3 up, so really quick here. Most impressive, I think, is the up speeds. If you need to use your phone or use the mobile hotspot capabilities to, say, upload a video, you're going to be able to do that. 5 megabits per second up is faster than most average people's home connections. Yours might be crazy faster, but for most people, it's not going to be the case. So this thing really is an absolute speed demon. All right, let's talk a bit about the software here. You're looking at a skinned version of Gingerbread. It's got Moto Blur on it, kind of, but you're not calling it Moto Blur anymore. And because you're not calling it Moto Blur anymore, it's actually a usable version of Moto Blur. So yay for that. Here's some tweaks. If you go ahead and look at applications, you can see right down below, hopefully, it's a horizontal scrolling and it moves as you go. A little bit of a 3D-esque effect. This is not a 3D screen, just sort of emulates 3D on here. You can see what that kind of looks like as you go through. A lot of built-in applications here, certainly some Verizon add-ons, VZ Navigator, VCast videos, all that V stuff. But some of the nice things you're going to get, things like Quick Office. You can go ahead and create and edit all of your Word stuff. Got to go ahead and register. But that's really a nice addition. One of the things I also like too is this most called widget. If you go ahead and pull it down, you get a whole bunch of stuff you can add there, different contacts you want to call. It was just a really nice feature, something that I didn't have to add a whole screen of icons for people that I call. I could just add this and be able to pull it down and save a lot of screen real estate. This might be a personal thing, but I found myself going like this quite a bit, similar to what you do with HTC Sense, or TouchWiz lets you do that. If you go ahead and hit home, you can jump around and see the home screen and see what stuff look like and go to the one you want. But I can't find myself wanting to do that. Didn't work though. So if you're familiar with HTC devices, you're going to want to get used to that a little bit. I wish that the pull down here also had notifications across the top and things that will let me change, turn Wi-Fi off, turn 4G off, and those kind of toggle switches. But alas, it does not. One of the nice things about Android too, if you don't like the way this looks, you can download a brand new launcher and be off to go. Launcher Pro is one of those ones that are really good and very easy to use. So let's take a look at some of the widgets that's going to be available on here as well. So I'll go ahead and open this up. Take a look at widgets. And some are standard Android, some are Motorola. Go ahead and let you see what it is. Citrix for some remote office stuff. Go through and scroll through all of them and see what they are. So there are little widgets like Wi-Fi toggle that you can add, but I got used to sort of having them up here. Certainly there are tweaks though that you can do to give you those options as well. So let's run through the hardware again just very quickly. It's pretty nice, thin device, able to fit in my pocket without any sort of worry. The screen here was very decent. If I go ahead and take a look at some colors, Some wallpapers, for example, you can see what the screen looks like, although some always gets lost in translation a little bit when you are wallpapers. There we go. We'll go to wallpapers when you're filming it. I had a little bit of trouble in direct sunlight. Images were tough to see, but that's to be expected. Text was very crisp. Images came across very clear and bright. Blacks were very black. Colors were very colorful. Text, I'll go ahead and jump back to the website here. We'll load an article, iPhone 5 live blog, for example. And this is over just a 4G connection. See, there's a ton of stuff loading. There's Flash content pulling in here. No speed decrease at all. Text was very good, really crisp. I didn't get any sort of pixelation on this device. So if you're looking for one of the fastest, possibly one of the most spec'd phones out there, I'd say this and the Galaxy S2 would be the ones that are definitely top of the list. This is a great phone, and this is one of the Android phones that I can wholeheartedly recommend. It doesn't make any compromises. You don't sacrifice battery life to get the faster data speeds. You're not sacrificing performance to get the size. This phone really has everything and is well worth the dollars that it costs, and certainly sits, at least right now, at the very top of Verizon's lineup. I give this phone a very, very solid 2 thumbs up recommendation, 5 out of 5. This is definitely one of the best phones on the market, one I could certainly use as my daily driver. I mentioned towards the earlier part of the video to talk about the cameras. Camera quality was about average, about what you'd expect from a camera phone. Nothing to write home about. Certainly not going to become, I always make this bad joke, Ansel Adams with your camera phone. But it does work decently, and it will shoot HD video. So if you're out and about and your friends are doing something funny, this will work. But definitely don't leave your standard point and shoot camera at home. Hope you guys enjoyed this full review of the Motorola Droid Bionic. I'm John Rettinger from Techno Buffalo. Be sure to check us out for all of your tech news, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.